Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the powerful folks, because I think what's really interesting when I looked at the reports about her being tried is that she's being tried in the public corruption unit as opposed to the human trafficking, like where you would be tried for human trafficking. You've been a New York reporter for a long time. I think the first time we ever interacted was over stories of public corruption that took New York by storm a little under a decade ago with all these elected officials. So you're probably familiar with this a little bit at least. Why there? Who could potentially be involved?
That is an amazing question. It is raising eyebrows that the Public Corruption Unit is in charge of this investigation. And in the last year, some of Epstein's famous friends have been making headlines. And, there are also public officials in Epstein's little black book. And of course, we know who those are. Those include former President Bill Clinton. The Clinton family it seems to have been friendly with both Epstein and Maxwell. As we know, Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane multiple times. The new Netflix documentary, I don't know if you've seen it, it was great, but one of the employees at the Virgin Islands compound that Epstein owned said that he saw Bill Clinton on the island. Of course, Clinton and his representative deny that he ever set foot on the island, but I think a lot of people are wondering, why was Bill Clinton on Epstein's plane so many times? And, one longtime victim's lawyer, Brad Edwards, he has written a book and it came out earlier this year. And I think he stated it perfectly in his book. He said, I've always, no one has said that Bill Clinton participated in anything, sort of sexual abuse or as part of the trafficking scheme. But he always wondered if Clinton had useful information, why hadn't he come forward? Another person, an obvious person, would be President Trump. President Trump was part of the Palm Beach scene. He had been to Epstein's home. He even provided that infamous quote for New York Magazine saying, we both enjoy women on the younger side, and he's a terrific guy. So we have a current and former president who are involved. We obviously have Prince Andrew, not so much a government official, but, somebody who could be a witness. And, some other people would include former Governor Bill Richardson. I mean, Epstein had donated money to his campaign in the past, and a victim, an accuser named Virginia Giuffre, claims that she was forced to have sex with Bill Richardson. Another person that she claims she was forced to engage in sex with was former Senator George Mitchell. So there are more than one, right, politicians that were close to Epstein or at least tangentially involved. And I think there might be even more people that we don't know about. As you know, last August, I believe it was, this tranche of court records, just like hundreds and hundreds of pages of court records in a lawsuit, were unsealed. And those were part of the lawsuit that Virginia Giuffre had filed against Ghislaine Maxwell. So many of those files were secret. The public did not see them, but once they are released, it is believed that more men will be named, more famous people will be named as part of this. So, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, those documents could come out in the next few months. There's no definite timeline, but it's something to, look forward to, I guess.
House of Cards. I'm really fascinated by Alan Dershowitz's role in all of this. Can you help illustrate? Was he just like the consigliere of the empire? Alan
Dershowitz, I should say, has denied any knowledge or involvement in Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking scheme. Yet there are accusers who have pointed to him as being someone who took advantage of Epstein's trafficking. Virginia Giuffre claims that she was forced to have sex with Dershowitz. He adamantly denies that. Another accuser named Sarah Ransom said that she was directed to have sex with him. So we have two women who are saying that. Another victim, alleged victim, Maria Farmer, who, she was abused by Epstein and Maxwell allegedly, I should say, in the 90s. And she said that she remembers Dershowitz visiting Epstein's New York mansion in the 90s. So it seems that Dershowitz and Epstein had a long-running friendship, and it was Dershowitz who helped, broker this very controversial plea deal that Epstein secured in Florida in 2008. I mean, Epstein essentially got a slap on the wrist for abusing dozens of underage girls in Palm Beach, Florida, and it was because of lawyers like Alan Dershowitz that these victims were silenced. And it's puzzling that even recently, in the last few days, Alan Dershowitz has come out with some sort of essay saying that Ghislaine Maxwell is innocent. So you do kind of wonder what his role is in this whole thing. It should be noted also that Alan Dershowitz says that once these unsealed court records are released, it'll prove his innocence. I mean, Alan Dershowitz will talk to anybody about how innocent he is, and he had nothing to do with it. So that's something else that remains to be seen.
So it's really mind-blowing that they would publish Alan Dershowitz at this point, given the multiple controversies even beyond this, just involving Trump and how he's just been a hitman, in the public realm when it comes to reputational stuff for so long. I mean, if you recall, just for our audience, remember the kinds of hits he would throw against Keith Ellison in the DNC chairs race. He said he threatened to leave the Democratic Party if Keith Ellison were elected DNC chair, and then he wasn't, and Alan Dershowitz did leave the Democratic Party and went to the Trump side. So interesting. The CIA. The CIA, Mossad, all of these intelligence agencies, how does that intertwine with this story?
There are lots of rumors that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine were involved with Mossad. They were agents of them somehow. There's another really interesting story in Brad Edwards' book. He's the longtime lawyer for the victims that I told you about. I mean, he's been doing this since 2008 when Epstein got a controversial plea deal, and one of the young victims came into his office seeking help, right? So that's been more than a decade-long fight for him. And so he's done a lot of research into Epstein's connections. And one thing that he says in his book is that Epstein's bodyguard, who is this Russian MMA fighter, claimed to have been sent to CIA headquarters for a training, and he had no idea why he had been sent there. And while he was there with all of these officials, he was given a book to give back to Jeffrey Epstein, a book and a note. So if that story is true, I mean, why was Epstein's bodyguard being given access to a CIA employee training? Why was he there? There's just there's so many rumors in this case and so much speculation, but you have to wonder why Jeffrey Epstein got away with this for so long. I mean, a cycle of abuse that started in the 90s and carried on possibly until his death or until he was arrested, right? So why did he get a slap on the wrist, back in 2008 when it came to U.S. prosecutors in Miami, and that was Alex Acosta in charge of that plea deal. So those are very good questions, and I don't have a lot of answers when it comes to the CIA or Mossad, but it is something that's kind of lingering in the background. There's lots of questions about it.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Nomiki Show. Make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube and share with everybody on social media. And of course, if you're not a patron already, please join us on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for as low as $5 a month. That money makes a huge difference. We don't have the corporate money coming in. We're not cable news that's raking in the dough from advertisers right now as everybody's sitting at home and watching. It is really you guys who are keeping us together. So please consider being a patron. And for those of you who have already, we are incredibly grateful to you.